Alrighty, I'm plugging away this A-pillar here, which has been a bit of a challenge because if you recall, I had a big hole in it from where the spotlight was. But I was trying to, in my mind, just cut it here, bend this over and have this line up with the pillar, but that wasn't working out the way I wanted it to. So I ended up cutting it up here, spreading this out just a bit, move these around, get it all lined up. And now I'm, for the most part, relatively happy with it. I do still do a little metal finish, but for the most part, it is where it belongs. As you can see, it's a pretty sizable gap from where the pillar moved versus to where the door is. So this will have to be brought in there. But at the moment here, I'm going to go ahead and continue on with this pillar here. You can see I've already wedge cut the bottom here. So I'm going to break that free, cut this here, bend that out, weld her all up, give her a slap on the ass. You know, we'll be good. Yeah, it's been a day or two since I've worked on this thing. It's been a little busy at work. So let's get cracking. Today's is the only warmest thing I got in here. Freezing outside. Well, that ain't so bad. Gotta get all the little pinholes and do a little clean up and sand it and make it pretty, but it's getting there. This is gonna be stout. That's not so bad if I say so myself. Since I'm the only one in here, I'd be inclined to believe me. But get rid of the little hole there too. Probably should say that more. Alrighty, that's enough screwing around here. It's nice to finally get out and drive the Mabes around. Just performing like a champ, although the thing's impossible to drive in park, but you know, whatever. It's a good time. The weather this week in Texas is like, reads like a riddle. You know, we froze our keisters off last night at the show out in the rain. Today it's kind of warm. It's getting warmer, kind of getting muggy. And then by the end of the week, it'll be like in the teens. It's awesome. Anyways, let's do some door posts today. I am liking that flow on the top. So the total chop is 5 at the front, which, I mean, technically actually works out about 4.5 of vertical drop because of the leaning of the post and blah, 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 all that stuff. And then I've taken an extra 3/4 of an inch out of the back to get the flow to go where I want. So the back is just shy of 6 inches, and that's actually straight down because this piece comes out vertically or horizontal or whatever the hell it is. But the key thing to lay in the loft is the distance in the door between here and essentially here. So you'll notice that the window itself is essentially square. The top drip rail is parallel to the door. Now, I've seen plenty of chops where they lean the back down more, but then that makes the door opening into a wedge, and frankly, I don't like the way that looks. So I'm not doing that. So today's project, we're going to put the B-pillar in, slanted of course like a proper chop, because straight posts are for chomps, and then do the door openings. I like the way the slanted pillar looks because it makes the car look like it's going fast, sitting still. And that really is the ideal. The straight posts I've never liked at all, so I'm not keen on doing that, but this I like. Not getting involved in the back window yet. Trying to block that on my peripheral visions here. But today's the day for magic. So, position number 1. We have to address this situation here. So as you see, because the posts have leaned in, I got a big fat finger in there. So this has to come in, so I'm gonna pie cut it in here, and then lean all this in, weld it back up, and try to get the door open. So in this front area here, I'm gonna go ahead and cut a wedge, a little more on the outside here, just in this body line. And then cut it probably along this line here and straight up, and then this can all lean out and it'll all line back up somewhat, sort of, kind of properly. We'll work that out. And then the back area here, this will lean in a little bit. So you'll see, oh, hang on. I got that screw there and that screw down there. And what those are for is to line up the window channel. So these will have to be readjusted, so it's important that I actually leave this. So I can't really modify that until the window channel is set in place and lined up, and that'll be the glass guy's problem. So I'm gonna work from this side here and tie that in yonder. See, easy peasy. Just a very complex jigsaw puzzle with no instructions. So let's get to work. Ooh, Nelly. Already warming up out there. Alrighty. Alrighty, so with the latest advancements in templating technology, I have some manila folders, which actually makes surprisingly good template material. You know, they're super cheap. But, so we need to make, let me open that door up, a template for here. So this just so happens to be the perfect size. So, got this guy here. So I want to go ahead and just cut the ends off here because I don't need that, as opposed to trimming it in the middle here. So I got this piece here I need to cut off. I might be able to reuse that. Then I have this brace here, which in hindsight I should have probably cut out first and removed the post this way, because I could have cut that there, and then left this, pulled this out probably a little bit cleaner than I did. But it's one of those things you learn after you do something and then you forget the last time you did it, and you never get it right, and you always make the same mistake. At least that's my life. So that'll work fine. So yeah, let's figure this out. So all right, before I get ahead of myself, I'm going to go ahead and cut this guy here and get that lined up first. What the hell are you doing, stupid camera? Anyways, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by my video equipment, I'm going to go ahead and cut this here and bend this in, and then we can do the door top, and then do the B-pillar to match the door top. That's my plan. Alrighty, so this is a pretty meaty spot back here, so I'm going to go ahead and get my grinder. Left these out in the rain. Nice. Alrighty, what's the beginning? Alright, a little more clearance and I think we should be good to go. You can see I just cut a wedge here, or a slot basically, so this can bend over here. So I just need to finish clearancing in that area, clean this up, and we should be good to weld. Oh, here comes the shop dog. Hello, shop dog. All right. Why don't you go lay on that seat over there and stay out of the way. Puppy dog. Got no snacks in here, bro. All right, come on. Sure, she's the employee of the month every month, but she really doesn't do much work. So this here, moving the pillar, it is pretty standard on almost anything you chop. So nothing too exciting here. So with the back of the door lined up, I put a clamp on there to keep it tight. So now I can just bend this in where I need it to be, which is going to be about 1/8 of an inch from there. So I'll put a clamp on there and tack it on the inside there. Tack it in here. And then we can open it up, finish weld it, and then move on to section number 2. Alright, that'll work. That'll work. Yeah, just buzz that tight and we can start it here. All right, now that's done. Let's move on to the door top. So, let's go find the door top, which is right yonder. Move all my crap out of the way. So, I've already marked this, the original 5 inches, and I'm going to cut. So, I'm going to cut it just a little long. That way I can file into it and improve the fit there, because it's want to have a nice consistent gap. Now I can already see right here I got to trim a little bit because it tightens up because this pillar has moved, but that'll absorb here because you actually see they're different thicknesses, so that all works out. And then here on the end, that's actually going to get trimmed because we'll see that actually fits there, but my pillar here is actually going to come up probably somewhere in this area here. I'm going to put a little filler jobby in there. So just a word of caution. because I took the other bottom of the post and leaned it in, that's probably going to change how it actually lines up here, which is one of the reasons why you want to leave it long, because it may have changed that reference line there. So, think ahead. Oh, I'm probably wrong about that, but you know, better safe than sorry. So, it's a little tight in this area here. Bring it down just a, oh no, let's say about a 1/16 of an inch, which oddly enough is where my original cut line was, but hey, who's judging? All right, so just a little right there and we'll be good to go. That's still a little tight there at the top. So we got that there. Bring that up to there. Maintaining my gap, and then yes, gets a little tight there. So another 1/16 of an inch. Alrighty, so to this, I'm just going to use my little Sharpie here, so that way I can put a little, we'll call it a witness mark. If I could do it straight, it'd be better. That gives me a guide of how much I want to grind. This is not working. That way I got something to go by. Use my trusty magnet. That ain't working. Alrighty, I am happy with all of this. So, I think here I should probably tack this in place. Throw a couple tacks here. We can work this area here. Maybe the magnet will work. I don't know. So we can work in this area here. So I think the magnet should hold it good enough for the time being. I'm gonna go find that piece because I have no idea where it's at. Over here to my scrap pile. There we are. Door. So as we can see, well, if we hold it here, you can see how much we actually took out. This was the top of the door. We're way above the roof, so I mean we were up here. So this is what we call gooder. So I want to cut, so I'm going to make a pattern before I start babbling on about this nonsense, what I'm going to do, because I don't really know at this point. Well, actually I have a general idea what I'm going to do, but I just can't say it's going to work yet. Alright. So these do actually make pretty good patterns, because you can buy a pack of 500 for, I don't know, like $10. It's nice rigid material. And you can put it in the breaker. Now I do know that the door is going to get this will get narrower here. So we're actually going to cut that off, because from this area to this area is going to be like this here. So we're not cutting that. So maybe somewhere in that ballpark. So with the thickness here, which is about 1 1/4, the post here is actually 1.5 inches. I know I'm going to be somewhere in this ballpark here. Honestly, I'm not quite sure what I'm thinking here. I can see it in my mind. Not really. It will actually give me a better reference. All right. So as much of a pain that was, at least it gives me a cut reference point, so I can put this on the post, trim it down a little bit, and then file it in to where I want it to fit. So and then I'm screwing it up. So then, let's see how'd that go. That one. No, I'll do that again. So now it gives me a reference point. So now I know I got to cut this area out here, which I'm sure you can't see that, but this will all be leaving. And then up here, I actually might be able to use that. In fact, I don't see why I can't. So if I go right to the top there, because this curvature here should, in theory, no, yeah, it'll have to get cut back to here, because it'll be a straight line coming into that curve. So yes, I want to cut it in that area. So I can go back to my pattern. Yeah, I know I'm overthinking just a touch, but if you overthink it, it makes less work. So it's worth it. But yes, this top down to the best straight spot, because the bottom doesn't matter, because we have to make that corner regardless. So we can actually go back all the way down to the bottom corner, or just about to it, trim it off, get up there. That way this area here matches the door better, and this area here ties right into that curve. All right, so I'm sure you can't see this, but this will be the bottom. So I'm going to start at the inlet of this corner here, cut it straight down, get rid of all this here, because we're going to make this new piece. You can go ahead and just nib that off, because it's going to change too. So that way all the internal, where the window channel goes, is all intact. You know, important things like where the screw hole goes for the interior trim is still there. It's those little things. So while I was charging my camera, I actually forgot to plug it in, but I did plug it into the cord at least, so it's still dead. Anyways, I did trim this guy down here. So let's go to a little fitment here. Come on, come on. Nope, nope, nope. There you are. So because the post does have to lean in to match the front, it's got a little bit of a wedge there at the bottom, but you can see this is just about ready to tack in place. So I want to make sure I leave my about my 1/8 inch gap there. Or what's that, 2 millimeters, something like that. So we're getting there. So I think I'll finish grinding this and tack it in first, and then start fitting this edge here to fit this edge, and then button it all up together. Just so you know, I'm I don't know, 4 hours into just this one piece. You know, this stuff adds up time-wise. It seems so simple, you know. Oh yeah, I'll just cut here and glue it back together. Not so much. It's a lot more complex than it sounds. You know, it's a lot of just fitting little things up and spending your time grinding little pieces so they fit together better. Because the better fit, the better the weld, the less cleanup, and technically faster in time. So you spend the time in the pre-fit, and then you don't spend the time in the grinding later on. So now I need to go charge my camera for real and actually plug it into the wall. You know, so stupid charging block. Alrighty. So with this sort of fit in place here, close the door all the way. That is about where we're going to sit. So I think before I hot glue this thing, I think I'll fit the inside here just to make sure it's going to flow as needed. Because there are some changes that happen, like this here in reference to the door pillar, and this here. So everything has to be sort of thought out. So I'm going to move on to that as soon as I can find it. So, same thing. Clear my junk out of the way so I can think. So, gonna cut this curve out here, I know that much, into a straight spot. Gonna have to alleviate the corners and just use the center here. So I want to retain all of this. I want to retain the tack strip for the upholstery. I think Patrick will be unbummed. I think Patrick will be bummed out if I delete that, or at least his upholstery guy will. Cut this piece out here so we get down to just the core. This is a much better plan than cutting this thing in half and then piecing it all together. And I actually had considered just making a whole new one from scratch. And in some cases, it's actually a little bit easier to do that than try to fit all the old stuff together. But this is actually in such nice condition that it's really, it's no more, no less work to just make it from scratch. You know, if I had a better bead roller, I maybe might be more tempted. Because sometimes it's actually less work. Because if you look at what this is, I mean, it's basically just a box. Nothing special, because I already have to make all of this. I already have to make all of this, so really just making a box is not a big deal. But making that here is not as easy as it sounds, because I can't just put it in the brake because it actually is curved. So I'd have to use a bead roller, and I don't have any dies like that. I actually planned all that out and it didn't work out, so we're using this method. So open this door up and get it out of the way, and we'll get to work. So I'm glad I paused myself before welding the door up, because this is a unique problem here. This is the post. Now you'll see how it tapers. So I have to be super conscious of where to cut it up here so this gap doesn't run wild between the post and the door. Because my thinking was I'd do the door first and then make the B-pillar fit the door post, which is not a good plan because the wedge in here will completely foobar my gap there. So I've got to keep that in mind. So glad I caught on to that. So, alrighty. So lop that corner off and we'll start going. I'm gonna make a paper pattern first. So now I got from here to here. Yeah, that area. So let me first make a pattern of that. And it actually has to come here and come up a little bit and then not have a little 45 bend there to clear the door. Because I wedge cut there, but there was an original body seam there if you recall, so that's why I cut it there. But I just need to come up a little bit and tweak that gap, keeping in mind the door gap. And then line that up there. So a little paper mache action and we'll be good to go. Alright, at least it gives me a starting point here with the paper. I'm trying to get as much stuff done today as possible. The weather actually right now, and I tell you, the weather in Texas in the winter is like a magic 8-ball. You just have no idea what you're going to get. It's just crazy. So like last week, or actually last Saturday, it was 85 degrees. Woke up Sunday, 40 degrees. It's been kind of crappy all week long. Last night went out to the show, the dinner, everything. Poured rain, or didn't pour rain, misted rain. It was cold and windy. It was horrible. Wake up today, 75 degrees right now. And then there's a cold front coming in by tonight, so it'll be 40 degrees tomorrow. It'll be in the teens by Wednesday, which means I won't be out here. And then on the weekend, we have a wedding, which is outdoors. It'll be 30 and raining. It's just, it's a crapshoot. And the week after that, it'll probably be 90 degrees. There is no consistency. The only thing consistent is inconsistency. But it keeps you on your toes. All right, let's go cut. Yeah, it's like people ask, hey, I'm thinking about moving to Texas. What's the weather really like? I don't know. It's everything at the same time. All right, so that is a starting point there. So mark this down, trim it out, and we'll start fitting. This here is a cardboard that's actually stuck in those little tabs, and this is the staple the upholstery to. So it's definitely a pretty important, necessary piece, so I gotta make sure it stays. I mean, look at that, there's not even any rust behind it. This thing was very well taken care of. Yeah, I know, but there's a nice breeze in here. I'll be just fine. Just got back from the LA Roadster show. I'm inspired to build something to drive to next year. Once I get this done, I got one more behind this, a 36 LaSalle I'm doing next. I'm gonna start something else for myself to drive there. Challenge. There's another YouTube channel. I was thinking maybe having a challenge them to do a build off and driving there. We'll see how that works out yet. I haven't really approached him, but good idea. That'd be kind of a lot of fun, I think. All right. There, we're out of the curb. I'll be the straightest straight edge I can find. Get rid of that. Bada bing, bada boom. And I'm gonna start thinking about that portion. All right, so before I start whacking this thing, you know, it's going to fit. So now you've got, let me move you over here so you can probably see it better. This line here will reference this line here. But then I've got all this area. So, as I can see, this drip rail is going to go this way. So I want to make sure that I leave this portion here. So I think I'll cut it there and cut it in here. Cut this piece out there, so I'll leave this piece there at the moment, which ultimately I'll probably cut out and make a new piece regardless. But you know, it's better to leave it there and trim it back than it is to go, oh whoops, I needed that. So you see how this piece here that goes in there, spot weld's there, so I'm gonna try to save this piece because I might need it. And then sort of deconstruct this thing a little bit at a time here, because it's definitely much better off to go as slow as possible and just, you know, trim it back as you need it, because that way, you know, again, you get the best fit, best weld, best finish. Because if you just whack too much stuff off here, you're going to be screwed. I've learned that, unfortunately, too many times. That's getting down to what I want to save. So now you begin to understand why, you know, making it from scratch isn't that bad of an idea. It's a lot of little doodads. Can't get much better than that. Little file work and we're good to go. Well, I think I can live with that. Sometimes you just get lucky. So now you'll notice this area here, this is where the door comes, and the post has to be leaned in, one, so it leans in to go with the new window frame, but also tapers in here. So I'm gonna have to cut this here, a little slice, push this in, button that corner up, and then just do a little grind job and to make that all flow together. And I'll just need to refit this here a little bit since this post moved just a hair. We are getting there. All right, there we are, tacked in place. We'll need to grind that edge just a touch there. On that, it's a nice solid gap, nice and consistent. Need to adjust the door latch on the side, but it has a nice tight gap. This is exactly where I want it. I've got clearance on the inside. Just need to come out here in the morning, weld all this stuff together, and then make the window corners and button that all up. So moving right along. Yeah, the cold front blew in last night, and now it's quite chilly today. So, you know, Texas is doing its thing. Anyways, I did get the door tacked in place. If I can get it open. So I just need to finish weld all that stuff. But the final fit is good. I like the profile of the roof line. So I think I'm gonna round the corner here. Haven't really 100% decided. Pretty much gonna decide on probably yes going to happen, but you know, discussions in my mind. So next step is to bring in the corners here, which is a little more complex than you think. So you have to keep in mind the stainless trim that's going to go on here. You know, so it's got to be able to make a curve. So you have to make the pieces to have a proper flow so you can actually get the stainless to refit. So if we use this corner here as a basis, kind of design, I'll make a paper pattern off that and we can kind of play, because this corner here matches the curvature there, at least theoretically. So if we can get this to match and these to match, then the flow will be all right. Of a circular nature that I can use. So let's find something that references this grinding wheel here, fits that curvature perfectly. So we'll use this as a reference for our corners, because I know we can get the stainless to bend like that, so that should work just fine here. So we'll use this as a pattern on all of these, somewhere in that ballpark. On the back there, I don't know, maybe a little bit different story. It's going to be hard to tighten it up any more than that, but I don't know. Let's see what I can do. It's still pretty early, so my brain's not going 100% yet. So using my wheel here, got myself my little pattern. And that fits perfectly right there. So that'll complete that piece. It'll fit that piece and this piece here. So starting on this, first thing we need to do is make the inside piece, which is not really a big deal, but make this piece here, and then we'll make this piece here. So let me grab my magic tape measure. Naturally, I have no idea where it's at. So we are just shy of 2 inches. So I need to make sure I add for this bend down here and this bend up here. We are roughly, I'm going to say 5 inches. And over here we are 1 3/4. So let's whip that piece out real fast here, and we'll get that going. So here is the cast off from the back. And it's got that piece that's already made there. I wonder if I can repurpose it for in here. This is obviously the wrong side, but I mean that curvature right there, it does technically fit here, but it's the wrong shape. It won't look right. So we can't reuse that. Or can we? Hang on, where's the other one? So if that piece was repurposed to fill that area, it'd be from about here. But yeah, that curve is it's too big. It ain't gonna look right because it won't match here. So, all right, well, so much for that idea. Back to the drawing board. right, so will fit in yonder, so I just need to curve this up with my shrinker stretcher and then weld it in place. So I need to shrink one side and stretch one side so they'll both curve up together. Right. So that will actually just about work, since this is all underneath the garnish molding. I'm not going to get too excited about it, but definitely need for structure. So trim that up and I'll make that fit and buzz it in there real quick. Stupid left hand. Disco. And bada bing. All right. So you just hold that in place. If I can find a magnet, which they're all gone. Here we are. Bought about 20 of these a year ago. And this is like the only one I got left. The problem with magnets is they stick to things, you forget about them. All right. So you hold tight there, and let's work on this piece. So you'll notice that this thickness here is different than this thickness here. So it has to have a bend as a taper. Now, I don't think I can make that in one piece. So I'm probably have to do it in two pieces. So I think I'll work on this piece first, which is just an easy filler, and then we'll go from there. Digging through my scrap pieces here. I mean, I have all these pieces I cut off the doors. The question is, can I use some of them? So that's obviously not going to work, but I mean, it fits perfectly there. Probably because it's where I cut it off. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really fit. I mean, it's one of the things, because I mean, I could have taken, for instance, say pie cut here, but it doesn't all work because it actually would have ended up back here, which doesn't work for the flow. So, I mean, it's cutting all this stuff and getting it out of the way is really the easiest thing because you got to make it no matter what. But if I can move that there a bit farther forward, trim some of this garbage off, make that piece there, and then it's just a matter of two filler pieces. That may or may not be more or less work. I don't know. But I got quite a few of these. I can probably dig around in my trash here and see what I got. Alright, so we'll just make a little smaller filler piece here. Nothing overly special. Go ahead and tie that to that corner there. Tie that in. Maybe something like that. It's just this little piece here, so buzz that in, and then I'll make this piece here that will bend over and then weld on that edge. If I had a proper bead rolling die, I could actually make that. I just don't have that, so we're gonna improvise and make it in two pieces. All right, so piece number one, obviously I need to trim a little bit more, but I got something to work with. So now just to bend this piece, wrap it up in there. Alrighty, so 8 inches. Close enough. Thin that out a little bit. Oop, with fingers. Gotta make it pucker up. Ready? All right, throw this in the little shrinker jobby. And yeah, this takes forever to do these little pieces, by the way. So, I mean, it, you know, is what it is. But it's part of it. Alrighty, so that's the beginning of something. Just trim it down. I'll bend the edge down here a little bit. And then made it up to this piece, and that one corner will be done. Only 9 more to go. Alrighty, so that trimmed and fit in there. Then it's a matter of marking where the edge is. Then I'll dolly this edge over after I trim it. And then it will meet up to this piece, and I can weld it all in, and it'll be one solid doodad. Yeah, it's surprising how much time the little things take, but you know, it's just part of it. So save all your scraps, because you never know what you can use, although you probably can't use any of it, but you could think you might, and just waste your time thinking about it, which is what I've done. So don't worry about that, just do this and you'll be fine. Anyway, so I'm gonna go weld this. Trying to figure out how to fold the little edge over there, so I think this dolly will work. It's a matter of just kind of rounding the edge just a little bit, just so it meets it with the other side better. That ain't working. All right, plan B. I don't know what the plan B is yet, but we'll figure it out. And we got one done, only about 9 more to go. So I'll work off that stuff off camera, because, you know, frankly, you guys really aren't that much help, just standing around watching. So anyways, next time we'll button up the back window.